Imagine waking up one morning, reaching for that familiar slice of bread. Maybe it's that dark-looking loaf you've been told is healthy. You take that first bite thinking you're doing something good for yourself. But what if that slice, the one sitting in your kitchen every day, is quietly sabotaging your health? What if it's pushing your blood sugar up, slowly damaging your heart, stripping away your muscle strength, or throttling your memory, all while disguised as everyday breakfast bread? Here's the truth. Not all bread is created equal, and for people over 60, the difference matters more than ever. Your metabolism is less forgiving, your recovery slower, and your organs more vulnerable. But marketing keeps spinning whole grain, multigrain, rye, pumpernickel, like they're magic words. In reality, many of those loaves are filled with refined flour, added sugars, and chemicals. If you reach for the wrong loaf day after day, you're setting the table for chronic inflammation, metabolic chaos, and accelerated aging. Let me walk you through the 4 most dangerous breads you should avoid entirely, and then the 4 breads you should aim to make a daily habit. You deserve clear facts, real science, and sensible guidance. No hype. Let's start with the breads you need to eliminate from your kitchen today. First up, the dark rye or pumpernickel style loaf that looks rich and hearty. At first glance, it seems healthy, but most commercial versions earn that color from caramel coloring and added molasses. A true rye or pumpernickel should take many hours to bake slowly, the kind of process that naturally breaks down anti-nutrients. The rushed versions in grocery stores, baked in just a few hours with chemicals and high fructose corn syrup added, do the opposite. Especially after 60, your digestion slows, your system struggles to handle those shortcuts. That's a recipe for systemic inflammation. Yes, ones that show up in your blood tests. Next, there's multigrain bread. On the label it sounds wholesome. After all, using multiple grains must be better, right? Not when most of that bread is just refined flour with tiny sprinklings of whole grains. You've probably watched your blood sugar jump after a sandwich, and that's the reason. Not only do people over 60 already deal with less insulin sensitivity, but these loaves trigger multiple spikes throughout the day. That roller coaster drives fatigue, stress hormones, and even muscle breakdown. And when your digestive system has spent decades slowly adapting, the added dough conditioners and emulsifiers in mass-market loaves can block proper absorption. Their gut just wasn't designed for that. Then there's the classic white sandwich loaf, the kind that practically melts into your system, about as far from nutritious as you can imagine. When flour is refined, up to 78% of its natural vitamins and minerals vanish. Worse, that refined starch causes blood sugar to surge like a tidal wave, triggering inflammation and exhausting your pancreas. In fact, multiple studies show that regular white bread consumption accelerates biological aging, based on cellular markers like telomere length. Harvard nutrition researchers and other experts warn that high intake of refined carbs like white bread drives chronic inflammation in seniors. What's more, certain additives in white bread can interfere with thyroid function, contributing to fatigue and brain fog that feel like getting old, but aren't inevitable. Finally, there's the rye bread that appears healthy, but is really just white flour dressed up with some rye flour and a touch of caramel color. Authentic rye offers antioxidants and fiber, but these imposter loaves deliver refined carbs, corn syrup, and artificial flavors, nothing more. For people over 60, that kind of bread can wreak havoc on the gut microbiome, reducing beneficial bacteria and impairing digestion. Plus, the gluten proteins are less broken down, which can lead to bloating and poor nutrient absorption. If you've been blaming age for digestive struggles, stop and check your bread instead. Those 4 breads might look respectable on your shelf, but what they're actually doing is quietly undermining your resilience, memory, joints, and blood sugar control. Now take a breath, because next I'm going to flip the script and show you 4 breads that do exactly the opposite. Loaves that feed your cells, nourish your muscles, support your brain, and keep your digestion running smoothly. Over 60, you deserve nourishment, not shortcuts. And once you make these switches, you'll feel the difference in your energy, clarity, and strength. Stay with me for part 2. So now that you know what to avoid, let's talk about what you should eat. Because cutting bread entirely isn't the solution. The key is choosing breads that actually work with your body, not against it. And when you're over 60, this becomes even more essential. The right kinds of bread can help support gut health, reduce inflammation, stabilize blood sugar, and even improve brain function. Yes, the right bread can do all of that. Let's start with sprouted grain bread. Unlike most breads that are made from flour, sprouted grain bread begins as whole grains that are soaked, sprouted, and only then turned into dough. That process unlocks enzymes that break down anti-nutrients and transform hard-to-digest starches into more accessible, bioavailable nutrients. For anyone over 60, that means you get more B vitamins, more minerals like magnesium and iron, and a smoother digestive experience with fewer bloating episodes. Your body doesn't have to fight to absorb what it needs. It just takes it in, naturally. It's also packed with fiber and protein, which means you stay fuller longer and your blood sugar stays steady. That one change, switching to sprouted grain bread, can genuinely transform how you feel throughout the day. Then there's sourdough, the real kind, not the fake stuff with vinegar tossed in to mimic flavor. True sourdough is fermented slowly using wild yeast and beneficial bacteria. That fermentation process breaks down gluten, lowers the glycemic load, and populates your gut with healthy microbes. That's a game changer for people over 60. Your gut microbiome controls more than just digestion. It impacts your immune system, your mood, even your memory. Seniors who eat real sourdough regularly often report better regularity, reduced bloating, and improved mental clarity. And if you've had trouble with gluten in the past, you might be shocked to discover you tolerate sourdough just fine. It's the only bread with living culture that supports you from the inside out. Up next is a powerhouse most people overlook, a sprouted multi-ingredient bread often called Ezekiel style. This bread combines sprouted wheat, barley, millet, lentils, soybeans, and spelt to create a complete protein, a full profile of essential amino acids that your muscles and organs need, especially as muscle mass naturally declines with age. Instead of being a bread that spikes insulin, this one helps stabilize it. Seniors who make this switch often notice fewer cravings, more sustained energy, and even improvement in blood sugar numbers over time. It has a denser texture and a nuttier taste, sure, but once your body adapts, it starts craving the real fuel. Finally, the most universally beneficial bread for anyone over 60, 100% whole grain bread. Not the fake stuff that says made with whole grain or wheat bread on the label. I'm talking about bread where the first ingredient is 100% whole grain flour. Nothing stripped, nothing refined. Whole grain bread delivers the fiber your gut needs to feed good bacteria, the complex carbs your brain uses for energy, and the nutrients your heart relies on to stay strong. Studies show that seniors who consistently eat real whole grain bread have lower risks of heart disease, stroke, and type 2 diabetes. In fact, switching just 2 slices a day from white or refined bread to true whole grain has been shown to add years to your life. And the best part? Your taste buds adapt. What once felt too dense or too nutty becomes deeply satisfying because your body is finally getting what it's been missing for decades. But let's be honest, switching bread isn't just about knowing what's better. It's about breaking the habits of a lifetime. Your taste buds have been trained by sugar, chemicals, and softness that crumbles at the touch. Real bread is different. It's hearty. It's got bite. But here's the thing. Your body knows the difference. Within days of making the switch, you start feeling less sluggish after meals. That afternoon, crash fades. Your cravings start to disappear. You feel lighter. Making this shift doesn't require perfection. You don't have to toss everything out today. Start by replacing one loaf. Mix 50-50 slices for a week. Add avocado, almond butter, or real grass-fed butter for flavor and satiety. Shop with intention. Read the labels. Look for 100% whole grain, sprouted, or sourdough starter. Avoid any ingredient you can't pronounce. And freeze your bread if needed to keep it fresh. Good bread spoils faster because it doesn't have junk keeping it alive forever. That's a good thing. Here's the truth most people miss. The bread you eat every day shapes your health more than almost anything else on your plate. Because it's every day. It's the toast in the morning, the sandwich at lunch, that harmless snack before dinner. Bread is comfort, it's routine. And if you can upgrade that, you're already winning. So the choice is yours. Keep eating the breads that drain your energy, blur your mind, and weaken your body, or start feeding yourself in a way that aligns with where you are in life. Stronger, smarter, sharper, happier. Now, I want to hear from you. What bread are you eating right now? Have you made a switch recently? And what differences did you notice in your body? Drop your story in the comments. Because the more we share, the more we help each other grow stronger together. And if this helped you even just a little, don't keep it to yourself. Someone in your life might still be reaching for the wrong loaf every morning. Let's change that, one slice at a time.